Hello, in this video we will go over how to create a rubric in my courses. To begin, scroll down on the left menu, go to Course Tools, and then choose Rubrics. On this page, click the Create Rubric button. In the Name field, give your rubric a name. Scroll down some, and you'll come to a place where you can start to add columns and rows to your rubric. Rows are associated with criteria. Criteria should reflect your instructional goals for the assessment. They should expand upon assignment directions to list the skills that learners should be demonstrating and the components learners must include in their work. Some criteria can be made to be worth more than others in the overall grade calculation. Levels of achievement, or columns, allow you to evaluate how well a student met each criterion in a rubric. These levels establish a scoring system where lower levels of achievement typically award less credit and higher levels of achievement award more credit. So if I click the Add Column button, it will add in an additional column or additional level of achievement for me to work with. The next step is to decide how you want your rubric to score. There are 5 different options that can be chosen from the rubric type drop-down list. The first option is no points. A no points rubric doesn't calculate a score for the student. It simply gives you the rubric functionality to evaluate their work. A points-based rubric works through addition, allowing you to choose what level of achievement a student has reached for each criteria while adding up the score as you go. So if you chose that they did an exemplary job with organization, they'd earn 20 points, and so on as you continue to click levels for other criterion. The points range works similar, except you are able to choose a range of points per level of achievement, as opposed to being stuck choosing just 1 point value. So for an above average job at organization, a student can earn anywhere from 10 to 15 points. And as you're grading, you'll be able to pick which score between 10 and 15 they earn. Percent works similar in that the grade is cumulative as you choose your levels of achievement. However, with a percent-based rubric, you designate the points possible for the assignment first. For example, if I made this assignment worth 100 points, and then you enter in percentages here that determine how much they earn toward that 100. So here, if a student did an exemplary job of organizing their work, then they would earn 100% of the 20% of the grade they could earn for organization. Because in a percent-based rubric, weight is applied to each criterion. So organization is worth 20% of the grade, development is worth 60%, and grammar and mechanics are worth 20%. And then the percentages to the right determine how much of that percentage they earn toward their grade. These rubrics are neutral to the point values you assign. So if your assessment was worth 20 points, the percentages would scale how many points they earn accordingly based on the weights you provide here. A percent range rubric works very similar to a percent rubric, except you're able to choose a range of percents for each level of achievement. Now back to the rubric, I'm going to do a points range rubric. The first thing you need to do is label your rubric criteria and the levels of achievement. To begin, click the down arrow next to one of them, and then choose Edit. Give it a new name, and then hit Return or Enter on your keyboard to save it. It works the same way for criteria as it does for levels of achievement. Next, you need to determine how much each criterion is worth. That's done by using the very last box under points to the right of the criterion. So here I could say formatting is worth 20%, organization is worth 60, and grammar is worth 20 as well. Now you'll need to work backwards from that number to fill out the other levels of achievement leading up to the highest one. If you have a percent-based rubric or a percent range-based rubric, it would look very similar to this, except you'd be filling in percentages instead of points. Now that I've allocated points to each level of achievement, I'm going to briefly define each level of achievement using the text boxes just below the space where you enter in the score, points, or percentages. Filling in brief descriptions for each level of achievement saves time later when you are grading and helps students evaluate their own work before they submit it. Once you're happy with the setup of your rubric, click the Submit button. Rubrics can be attached to assignments, discussions, blogs, and journals while you are creating them. If you have already created one of these, you can click the down arrow button next to the link to them and go to Edit. The Add Rubric button will always be found below the field where you designate the points possible for an assessment. You can choose to select the rubric you have already created. You can also create a new rubric or create a new rubric based on one that you've already created. Since most of you will have already created a rubric, click Select Rubric. Check off the rubric that you want to attach from this list, and then click Submit. Click OK if it wants to update the points possible, and now you'll see that your rubric has been attached. Before you click the Submit button, place your mouse arrow over the checkmark icon and determine when and how you want students to see the rubric. Most of the time, you'll want to choose Yes with rubric scores. This lets students see the full rubric with all of the scores that they could earn before they submit the assignment. You can also choose Yes without rubric scores if you don't want them to see the point breakdown, or you can choose After grading if you don't want them to see the full rubric until after you've evaluated them with it. If you choose No, they'll just never see it. I'm going to choose Yes with rubric scores and then click Submit. And that's it. Now my rubric has been created and it's attached to an assignment. Students can view the rubric by clicking on the assignment and then choosing the View Rubric button. The rubric will also be available to you when you grade the student's work. It will be on the right side of the page, and you can open it by clicking the Two Squares button. When you're filling out the rubric, you just click on the different boxes to choose where the students have landed, and you can add additional feedback in the feedback box. If it's a range-based rubric, you'll be able to choose where in the range the students land, and then you'll just click Save to save the calculated grade.